the intensity of its magnetic field more than doubled during the 20th century.
Το 2005 οι αστροφυσικοί του Πανεπιστημίου του Χάρβαρντ εξέδωσαν το ακόλουθο γράφημα στο επίσημο περιοδικό της Αμερικανικής Γεωφυσικής Ένωσης. Η μπλε γραμμή δείχνει την αλλαγή της θερμοκρασίας στην Αρκτική τα τελευταία 100 χρόνια. Και αυτή είναι η άνοδος του διοξιδίου του άνθρακα την ίδια περίοδο. Δεν υπάρχει εμφανή σύνδεση μεταξύ τους. Δείτε όμως πάλι τη θερμοκρασία και αυτή την κόκκινη γραμμή που απεικονίζει τις αναλλαγές της ηλιακής δραστηριότητας στον τελευταίο αιώνα, όπως καταγράφηκε ανεξάρτητα από τους επιστήμονες της NASA και της Αμερικανικής Υπηρεσίας Ωκεανών και Ατμόσφαιρας.
Solar activity over the last 100 years, over the last several hundred years, correlates very nicely on a decadal basis with sea ice and Arctic temperatures.
Για πολλούς επιστήμονες το συμπέρασμα είναι αναπόφευκτο.
The sun is driving climate change. CO2 is irrelevant.
Αν ισχύει κάτι τέτοιο όμως, γιατί βομβαρδιζόμαστε καθημερινά με ειδήσεις που θέλουν τον άνθρωπο υπεύθυνο για την παγκόσμια υπερθέρμανση? Γιατί τα μέσα ενημέρωσης το θεωρούν αδιαφυσβήτητο γεγονός?
Well, full disclosure, this is a shameless plug here. I've got a new book coming out next week called An Inconvenient Book, Real Solutions to the World's Biggest Problems. And today I'm going to give you a preview of Chapter 1 called Global Warming, Storming and Conforming. I wrote this chapter basically as kryptonite for you to use against your gore-worshipping psycho friends. The next time they tell you how global warming causes all sorts of massive natural disasters, you say, really? That's interesting because I heard somewhere, I'm trying to remember, that deaths per year from extreme weather are down 95% since the 1920s. Sure, you'll be unhip and friendless, but at least you'll be accurate. Anyway, as I put the chapter together, the thing that struck me, the thing that was more amazing to me than the facts that I was finding, was the fact that no one wanted to talk about those facts. If a scientist says that temperatures are up 0.01 degree, lead story around the country in every newspaper. But when somebody with decades of experience comes out and says global warming is a manufactured crisis, no one cares, and you can hear a pin drop. How do I know? Because that is exactly what happened last week when the founder of the Weather Channel wrote an article that began, and I quote, "It is the greatest scam in history. I'm amazed, appalled, and highly offended by it. Global warming, it is a scam." But since that opinion doesn't fit nicely into the mouth of the media beast, hello NBC, you probably didn't hear a word about it. Well, now you will. John Coleman is the founder of the Weather Channel. He was also the first weatherman ever on Good Morning America, and he is currently weatherman at KUSI News in San Diego. John, your head about exploded with the NBC thing this week. Is that was the breaking point for you?
Well, I had been listening to all the global warming talk for a long time and posting material about global warming on our website. But finally, the crescendo of global warming myth, nonsense, exploded in my head, and I had to write a real rant, and that's the one that got noticed. I put it on our website. It was picked up by icecap.us, picked up by Drudge. First thing you knew, it was all over the newspapers, all over the radio, all over the TV sets, and I had created a bit of a stir. And all I was doing was telling you the truth as best I know it.
Yeah. Why is it that the scientists are all in on this? I mean, so many people are in on the global warming is real and we've got to stop it right now.
Glenn, you got to make a living, first of all. So you spent 10 years becoming a PhD in meteorology. You got a research job, and you decide you're going to research the effect of human activity on global climate. And if you were to put out a research report that said not much and it doesn't seem too bad, you probably wasted all your 10 years.
John, what was the turning point for you? Because I know that you said that you went in to look for an honest answer. You thought maybe it's real. What was the thing that stood out and you went, this is absolutely bogus?
Well, when I looked at the hockey stick graph that was produced in Manning's original report, and it showed a steady line temperature through the millenniums and then a sudden rise global, I knew that was incorrect.
Yeah.
I knew it couldn't possibly be, and I started asking experts about it, and I started digging into how that was produced, and I found out it was bogus science. It wasn't real. The numbers had been massaged. The whole thing had been created. What bothered me was that the other scientists had accepted it. Well, why did they possibly do that? And I think the real answer to that question is that they all have an agenda, an environmental and political agenda that said, let's pile on here. We're all going to make a lot of money. We're going to get research grants. We're going to get awards. We're going to become famous. And I guess that's what happened.
John, do you think we're at the point of no return yet? Are we at the point where no scientists will come out? You've said to me on my radio program today that people are afraid in your business to speak out. Can we turn this around, or are we destined for global socialism?
I think that the ship may have left the dock, but in 20 years we'll have the last laugh. But of course billions of dollars will have been spent, policy will have been changed worldwide, people have been scared, we will have reacted to a myth, but nonetheless eventually we'll realize that there is no global warming of significance, and we'll have the last laugh. Now, there are scientists speaking out. There are hundreds of them speaking out. There are thousands who signed a petition, 19,000 on a petition against global warming. There are many scientists speaking out, but the mainstream press is totally ignoring them. Yeah. The mainstream press has totally climbed aboard and is marching along, and of course the former vice president got himself an Emmy and an Oscar and I believe a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, come on.
A Grammy as well. John, thank you very much.
You've heard the reports. The globe is warming, and it's our fault, and the consequences will be terrible. But you should know there is another side to this story, and scientists who've tried to tell it are often threatened, which makes me say, give me a break.
The world is heating up fast, and we have ourselves to blame.
Global warming is real, and we humans are almost certainly the cause.
Books warn that the Earth is under fire. A suicidal planet's approaching a boiling point and a toxic burn. Children are frightened.
I worry. My mom worries. The water might rise and it might flood the whole town.
We won't be able to survive for long.
And people say, since global warming is because of man, it must be fixed by man, now.
Some say irreversible consequences are 30 years away.
This Ad Council PSA says ignoring the coming crisis is like putting our kids in front of a train.
That won't affect me.
What are you most worried will happen?
We'll all die.
Are there some people who say this isn't true?
Yes. Yes.
Might they be right?
No.
How do you know they're not right?
Well, because the Earth is getting hotter.
Where do you learn this?
I saw the Al Gore video.
And the Oscar goes to An Inconvenient Truth.
The global warming documentary featuring Vice President Al Gore has been seen by millions. People have proclaimed him a prophet, a cultural icon, a conquering hero.
You are a true champion for the cause, Mr. Gore.
And last week, he won a Nobel Peace Prize. The Oscars were followed by other worldwide media events.
You are Live Earth.
With all this hoopla, it's no surprise that 86% of Americans say global warming is a serious problem.
Global warming is now, by anybody's measure, a crisis.
But is it a crisis? Yes, the globe is warming, but is it really all our fault? And is it true that the debate is over? No. What you think you know may not be so. For example,
in An Inconvenient Truth, Gore says if we allow the globe to warm, terrible things will happen, and
sea level worldwide would go up 20 feet.
Yeah, maybe like the height of this building. We'll probably just like drown and we'll die.
This is what would happen to the sea level in Florida. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay.
Maybe in thousands of years, says the IPCC, the group that shared last week's Nobel Prize with the Vice President. But in 100 years, the oceans might rise 7 to 24 inches, not 20 feet.
A faster buildup of heat here.
Mr. Gore also talks about melting ice caps.
That's not good for creatures like polar bears.
They show this heart-rending cartoon.
A new scientific study shows that for the first time they're finding polar bears that have actually drowned.
But I bet you didn't know that polar bears appear to be doing all right. Future warming may hurt them, but right now the World Conservation Union and the U.S. Geological Survey say